Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Today, the Duff Dog and I are going to see if we can't get a... No, not that thing. A 1967, 68 Mercury Cougar running for the first time in, sounds like 40 years. So we're going to the big city of Nelson, Minnesota. I think it's the suburbs of Alexandria. And anyway, the gentleman who bought both the checker cab and the 6.2 diesel square body tow truck. He committed to this thing and he said, whenever you make it this way or I make it that way. And I usually don't do deliveries, but he's bought a couple of vehicles from me. And I'm going halfway to his place. So I said, hey, do you want to meet me halfway in Alexandria? And he said, yep. So he's going to hook up his trailer. He actually picked up an OBS Chevy seat for me that I found in the cities. And we're going to make an exchange, and then we're going to go and load up this Cougar. It's a 67 or 68 first gen. You guys know how much I love Mustangs. Cougars are a classy Mustang, and this car has 3 pedals, and I've been hard up for one of those for a while. It's not as nice as I'd like, unfortunately, but it's in my budget. So we're going to go get rid of this 57 Chevy that's been so awesome, sitting here out front by the Standard Oil sign. You're going to miss it, aren't you? So much. Yeah, thing looks good. She's been sitting there. You can see where the dirty spot is. Got the tow pig gassed up, 8.1. We're probably gonna have to put gas in a couple of times. Yeah, I know. Let's go. We got to get on the road. We got things to do. All right, we'll see you hopefully in Alex. And hopefully not broke down on the side of the road somewhere. We're here at the Man's Mall, Fleet Farm in Alex. We're gonna dump this thing off and he's gonna put it on his trailer. We're gonna go get a Cougar. All right, there she is, right where he drug her out of the trees, where he parked it in 1986. I'm gonna back up to it and winch it on. He's got some extra parts all drug out for us. Get her loaded up, head for the flatlands. Sold the farm, so he's got to clean her up. All right, we're all loaded up and tied down. We're gonna head for the flatlands. Wasn't too bad. Did you find some water to go get stunk up in? Did you make a new friend, Buddy? Buddy the cattle dog. He's much more well behaved than you. Oh yeah, he came with a bunch of parts. We'll show you that. And Duff had to pee on those windows as soon as he got out of the pickup. You had a whole farmyard to pee in, and you peed on our parts that we have to smell the whole ride home. 2 hours worth. All right, I need cold refreshment. We got some water and chocolate milk. We'll be good. We're in downtown Fergus Falls, home of the Otters. Somebody's gonna get hammered down. Ooh, hammered. Ooh, she's a manual. Saucily. He's gonna catch that cop. Okay, green means go. Anyway, they got this cute little diner in downtown Fergus Falls. They got kind of an old-timey downtown. And the Viking Cafe, go check it out if you're ever in Fergus Falls. It's like a time warp. They still got the same tables and bar stools and booths and signs on the wall that have probably been there since the 60s, maybe even the 50s, but good cooking. It was all for fries and a patty melt and a water. It was $11.87. So pretty cheap. Very affordable. So go check it out. Support your local small diners, because we got enough McDonald's and Arby's and stuff like that. I should have asked about pie. All these diners got pie. But anyway, I had to stop and tell you about the Viking Cafe. So onward. Get out of Lakes Country. Get back in the flatlands. Get this thing pressure washed. Maybe we could get you set up with a pressure wash. Yeah, right. Just make the car dirtier. We almost made it home, didn't we, Duff? And then we had to stop at the keg for a brownie bite twister with marshmallow. It's so delicious. Hey, look at this. Just got back in the shop. Look at what we got here. It's from Freiburger's shop in Glendale, California. So if you guys don't know David Freiburger, you're just like me and don't know him either. But anyway, He's a nice guy. He was raising a bunch of money for animals that were part of the fires in California. And I said, you know what? California, animals, people, whatever. I like helping them all out. So all the proceeds from these purchases went to David Freiberger. So I got in here a pile of shirts, an absolute pile of Freiberger shirts. And we're giving these things away. So we got them in sizes, all kinds of sizes. We got some 3Xs, we got some larges, we got some extra larges. Let's open one of these bad boys up. But anyway, we're throwing these in with shirt orders. So obviously, with every order that you purchase at mortske.com, for every $1 you spend, you get entered to win the old whistle pig, $3,000 cash. And if you don't win it, you got a chance of being a runner-up, winning $100 a piece. But not only that, if you order a t-shirt on the dates listed below, you get a chance of getting thrown in for one of these Freiberger shirts here. I don't even know which ones they are. Ooh, no lowballers with his, I believe it's a 1968 Camaro that he got. I know what I got. So these are pretty sweet shirts, actually. Pretty nice and soft. They don't have a tag. It's got his name embroidered in the back. They don't smell like wildfires. It did take him a while to get here, but I'm sure he was overwhelmed with orders, and I don't think he packs his own orders. But anyway, head on over to mortske.com. I think there's 25 shirts in here. It was a little over $500. So that was my donation to him, and I'm sending it back on to you guys. So if you order a shirt at mortske.com, you might get one of these with it. So you might get a BOGO, a 2-for-1. You might get a Trogo. You might get a Freiberger shirt, a Mortske shirt, and you might get a whistle pig. So head on over to mortske.com, and if you're not into shirts or you don't like David Freiberger, then screw you. Just kidding. We got decals, we got ball caps, we got sweatshirts, we got banners, we got magnetic Cancoos, we got magnetic screwdrivers, you name it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. Alrighty, the top cat, the big cat, the kitty cat, and I have made it back. I got everything unloaded. I'm fat, and it's hot and sticky because apparently it's raining every single day around here. But let's take a look at what we got. He only had a couple pictures, but it did say he updated as it went. First he put nothing, and then it was 289, and then it was manual, and then it was 4-speed, and then it was with title, and then it was with parts. But anyway, super nice guy. He had 3 of these things over the years. This was the last one he had. Like I said, he parked it in 86 because he was commuting a long way, so he got something newer. And by then I've been a 19-year-old car. Of course, ran one parked, he said, didn't need anything. These parts that we got are off another car that he had, which was an XR7, which I'm gonna have to look into some more information. But he said it sounds like maybe a little bit more performance and a trim package, whatever. Wood grain dash was the big thing. Well, let's take a look at what we got. So there is the center for the grill. It's Mr. Mercury himself right there. And then that's the eyebrow. That car must have been the same color and stripe package as this thing. He must have liked that color combination. Can't blame him, can't go along with red. Some HVAC parts, couple vents. Some of this stuff I don't even know if it's for a Cougar. Wire harness, speedometer, a couple wiper transmissions, some wiper arms, windshield trim, exterior mirror, both the headlights, but we only got one half of the grill. We got a pair of bumpers off the XR7. You gotta know when to say when. Oh, got the cocktail on there, so don't drink and drive. The National Institute of Department of Health and Education. There you go. Don't drink and drive, kids. An extra steering column. I think all these cars are floor shift. There's the valance. That's the rear valance. You can tell because those are backup lights and not marker lights. And again, that car was white. A bunch of sill plates. I gotta check and see if these are even for this car, because that says Ford, which could be Ford, but these almost look like, well, there's multiple sets, so that's kind of interesting. So maybe he took apart 2 other cars. Some lenses and stuff. Again, I don't think that this is for that car. There's a bunch of these little guys. These must be the gills somewhere on there. Maybe it's XR7 only. I don't know. We're gonna get educated, I'm sure, in the comments. Cougar emblem, visors, some more interior trim, rearview mirror. So I don't know, this car doesn't have these little bumperettes, but the XR7 did, maybe. Window regulators. We got all the glass except the windshield. We got both side glass, for the front, both rears. He says he's got the wing windows. He's gonna give them to my buddy Kyle, who he works with, and a rear window. And then we got some mystery parts here. This I can't throw away. It's aluminum. I don't know what it is. Let's see if we can look up a part number or something. Oh, it's like a hook grabber deal. It almost looks like it was homemade, but not. Who knows? This is a horn button out of an LTD. Tell you what, any purchase this week, you get in thrown in the hat for a Ford horn button. If with your order you say, Mortske, I want to win that horn button, or just say horn in there. Chin will sneak it into one of the orders. We'll sign it. Throw some other swag in there. He was selling a 86 Firebird V6 automatic car. I said, nah, not really interested. This was a pretty decent car, especially for Minnesota. Way better than this thing. So he said he was kind of over to a GM guy. He said he had a small block 400 and a turbo 350 that he may be interested in selling. I said, yeah, hang on my number. Wasn't ready to sell it yet, but yeah, good guy. Let's wash this thing up. I'm gonna put all this stuff in tote so you can see I labeled some of it, and we'll save that stuff. Maybe we can make a few bucks selling that stuff if we don't need it, because I don't really see the need for most of this stuff. Maybe use the best bumpers, but all the glass, of course, other than the windshield, looks good. Oh, and it came with, he said he had two of them. He couldn't find the other one. They're 14s, but that one might take air because this one won't. The old Radial Mach 60, FR60, and then the Star Ultra wide HP G7014. And none of the wheels would turn, so I think the brake drums are frozen. But yeah, let's pressure wash this thing off, because she's been in the trees for a while, and a lot of this crap that's back here, oh, it did fly off. I mean, there was nothing back there that flew off on the interstate on the way home. It needs a bath real bad, and then it needs to have that wheel fixed so it don't sit so low over here in the rear. She's sitting pretty crooked, like something's broken. And who knows, maybe something is broken. We're gonna pressure wash the front of the work truck here. It got hauled home from the airport on a trailer because I left it at the airport when I went on a little flight to Texas and drove back. So we're gonna wash our big lowered work truck here. You can't use that pickup now, it's lowered. Makes a perfect bench, perfect height. But before we can put air in this thing, we gotta put a new valve stem on it. This valve stem is so corroded and full of crap that it won't even take air. So I guess we'll get the tire machine fired up, eh, Duff? Glad to see you could help. Oh, see you later.
Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
Looks like we got one wheel stud broke off. Nope, we're just, well, it might be rounded off. We're just missing a lug nut though, if we're lucky. Oh boy. Not happy. All right, I looked. Brake drums are $38 and change on the Rock Auto, so if we ruin these things, it ain't the end of the world. And let's be honest, if somebody was gonna get real crazy, do this thing up right, probably put some disc stoppers on there, so we'll see what happens. We gotta get this thing rolling, because I freaking hate flat tires and vehicles that don't roll. You're aware of that though. So we got our handy dandy hub puller out here, and we're gonna pull it off. I'm guessing the brake shoes, as always, are stuck to the drum, so we're gonna probably wreck some brake parts in the process. But I used to just cut the brake drums with a torch. That was the easy way, but that was before I was trying to make them run all the time. So I'm gonna make this thing run and drive. We better take care of that. Is this thread's all screwed up? Probably. I haven't used this thing for a while. Well, that was going fine until the rib on the brake drum got pulled off. And you can see, by the way, that it is.
You can tell that it's an aspen tree because of the way it is.
It's all rusty. That thing was just barely hanging on by a thread, so we didn't ruin that. That's been ruined for quite some time. All right, I got another sty puller we'll try. Got one Lone Star sandwich left. Bought this in Matagorda, Tejas, down there in the Gulf of Mexico. You can see she's pretty scarred up from a 1,700-mile ride in a hardtail roadster. Now we might be walking to a parts store. There went my eyebrows. Did you get that on camera, Waldo? It's so good when it hits the lips.
Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
At least he had the right lug nuts for the old slots. Get your lug nuts at lugnutguys.com. Not a paid promotion. Just good guys that got nuts. All of the nuts. Jeff, we need some 1/2-inch regular old crappy steel wheel nuts. What is that one? Garbage too? We're just on the old struggle bus today here with lug nuts. We're going nuts. All right, we're out of threads. Whatever shall we do? Come on, you're done. You've got nothing left to give. World's shortest pry bar here. Story of my life. There we go. Oh yeah, new hardware kit. Oh boy, that drum is, she's real groovy, just like the rest of this car.
Groovy, baby.
So yeah, Mojo turns that brake drum down and we'll get ourselves some new shoes and a hardware kit and adjusters and pretty much everything, or a disc brake. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Should have brought the brake tools out. Don't need no stinking brake tools. I got a brake tool on each arm right here. Throw that in our tote full of parts to be thrown away later. All right, now if we had a tire that held air and 3 more drums that weren't locked up, we'd be rolling. We'd really be getting somewhere. All right, I'm gonna do that real quick. Dang! I guess I'm a rear end guy, but the thing looks real tough from the back. Let's get a pressure washed off. All right, we finally got this thing in the shop. I think we picked it up like in August and it's now January. So what's that, like 5 months? This thing's been sitting outside. Everybody's been asking about it. So let's get right into this Cougar. We got her thawed out. The furnace is running. It's negative 11 degrees outside. So you're probably gonna be hearing a lot of that furnace trying to keep up. So I apologize for that, but let's take a look at this thing. I had a lot of time to look it over as it's been sitting outside in front of the shop. Just kidding. I just glance at it every now and then, and that's about it. And then I see the comments where everybody's like, when are you gonna work on that Cougar? Well, here it is, Duff. You don't like cats, but do you like Cougars? Everybody likes local Cougars. Yeah, we do. Oh yeah. So this bad boy has got the Hideaway headlights in it. Looks like it had some fog light action at one point, because all the, ooh, cool kids had fog lights. Looks like it's got some loose bumper bolts. Looks like We got a hideaway horn as well to go along with the hideaway headlights. I wonder if those are vacuum or electric. No doubt they're vacuum and don't work anymore. We got Mr. Mercury himself. There's the proof in the pudding. CIP 414 from July 1986. Now I picked this car up because it's a manual. And to find a manual, you could get a 3-speed or a 4-speed in a Cougar. It's pretty dang rare. So the Cougar is kind of an extended wheelbase, fancier version of the Mustang. And this was like the doctor's kid or the lawyer's kid that had these things. So it was kind of a classy Mustang. Classy cars apparently rarely got manuals. So I think I found 2 cars that were manuals, maybe 3 in the last 2 years. And this was the only one that was really within reasonable driving distance and that didn't get bought up right away. Well, this one was trying to get bought up right away, but we made her happy. That being said, it ain't in very good shape. It's had some body work done. It sat in the trees, which is the worst place to sit because they never dry out. Anyway, it's got 3 pedals. It's got a floor shifter, which I think all these cars were floor shift. Maybe some were column shift. I don't know. This is my first Cougar. I mean, the car.
Oh, behave.
Anyway, let's check this thing out. Like I said, she's got some old bodywork done. It's rusty on the front of the fenders here. It's rusty on the bull nose of the old hood. We got a lot of paint cracking going on in the fenders. All the paint's basically gone off the hood from where the leaves sat, and the humidity never got baked off, and it rusted the top of the hood out. Glass, yeah, that isn't rusty, but that's about all we can say about it. Can't tell if it had a real vinyl top or a faux vinyl top, but it's doing vinyl top things. You know what I despise more than vinyl roofs? Sunroofs. Nothing irritates me more than when somebody takes a perfectly good car like a 67 Cougar and hacks a sunroof into it. As if the floors weren't bad enough in this car, I'm sure that sunroof didn't help any. My guess is it was a vinyl top car and then they painted some type of bed liner on it. Also, I do believe this car was originally red. Looks like they were Lake Area Vocational Technical students. In fact, I know they were. The buyer said that he went to school there. Check out that sweet custom pinstripe down the side. We got the old Super Sport 50 and 5015s on the Keystone Classics out back. You had to have them sticking way out. No doubt there's air shocks on this thing. Quarter panels? Yeah, gonna need those too. Probably the ugliest wheel known to man. That's right, Craigers even look better than these. Oh yeah, 2-tone black with Cougar hand painted on the side. Nothing but the finest from Alexandria Area Tech. The old ultra wide HP G70-14 Star. You can't go wrong with some slots though. No unilugs here. Or maybe this car was blue. Is there some gold under there too? I'm seeing a lot of red. I think it was a red car. Look at that terrible purple tint job. Oh, we got the matching Cougar mud flaps. You don't want to get rock chips for your N50s. Look at how far they bolted them out to cover those N50s. The top isn't even catching the quarter panel. It's even got them sequential taillights that the Cougars are known for. Look at them shackles for all the lift to clear the N50s. The old back end's pretty straight. Ain't all smashed in, ain't too rusty. Wonder if we can get that trunk open. Oh man, we're missing that matching mud flap on the driver's side. And we're missing a whole lot more of the quarter panel. Looks like we better put some air in our Super Track N50 over here. She's a little flat, just on the bottom side. Oh, would you look at that traction bars? Yeah, that's right. It would jump a Coke can in its day.
It'll hop a damn Coke can, won't it?
Ooh, little fiberglass work going on the front fender. Looks like they got started, and that's about all the further they got. Really strange spot for it to rot out on the fender, but maybe that's common. Like I said, I'm new to the Cougar game. And then we got the old Eldorado custom stock on the slot on the driver's side. Man, they made the coolest white letter tires back in the day. Unfortunately, the slots are 14s. So the story goes, the gentleman that I got this from, this was his high school / college car, and I think he said he had 3 or 4 of these Cougars over the years, and this was the one he chose to keep through a divorce or 3, and this was the one he was going to fix up. He was selling the farm, moving away, realized he wasn't going to get to it, so here we are, proud new owners, or just new owners. You want to open the hood for me, pal? That'd be great. I don't even know if I can snap my finger with all them stitches. Hey, we got it. Here's how you can tell that it's been sitting for quite some time, that battery. Some of the other channels that lie to you will throw an old battery in it, or the battery will be missing and then they'll just scab some license plates on it. But we don't do that here. This thing was definitely the America edition. She's white, she's been red, she's been blue. And that's what you don't want to see. Rust in the inner fenders, because these are a unibody car. And so that's structure right there. She's even cracked out on the passenger side. But anyway, it's got a V8 4-barrel. This looks like it's either a 289, 302, maybe a 351. I think he said it was a 289. Looks like it's a power steering car, which is not surprising seeing as how it's a luxury performance car. No power brakes, but 67 was the first year of the dual reservoir master cylinder. No AC, which is all right, I guess. Still got that Motorcraft points distributor up front, easy access. Spark plug wires ain't even all chewed off. Looks like we got the remnants of an aftermarket water temp gauge. No fan shroud. Does have a fan clutch, but unfortunately we can't turn these engines over by hand, so we'll have to wing it with the starter. Got the OEM Fomoco radiator yet. And the old Rex 14-pound lift lever rad cap. Like I said, this is a 4-barrel car. They made quite a few less of these than they did 2-barrel cars, so that makes it a little bit more rare. And rare in many instances does not mean valuable. But I think on a muscle car, 4-barrel versus 2-barrel makes it a little bit more valuable. And we need everything we can get here because we can't just sell her based on the 4-speed. Looks like somebody maybe nabbed our voltage regulator. All the wires are unhooked. But the coil's here, and we got formed hoses, so no flexi hoses is always a good day. I definitely just saw a tail. Oh, where's he at? There is a critter walking on the exhaust manifold. Duff, you're supposed to come catch these mice. No wonder we have a mouse problem dragging all this crap in. It's got the old Prestaline T-tap flush valve on the heater hose for flushing your coolant system. I'm sure somebody did that regularly. It did have an automatic choke, but it looks like somebody converted to the old mechanical cable style. And we got a lot of leftovers from the rodents on the intake and everywhere else. Oh, hey, is that a Craftsman? Oh, it's a double open end, but it is a Craftsman. What a deal. 1/2 and a 9/16. No doubt they unhooked that battery cable with that. Well, we may have got a piece of crap car, but it came with a piece of crap free wrench too. Speaking of a 4-barrel, is it loose? Oh no. Oh no. Kids, don't store your car without an air cleaner on it for 40 years. The dipstick's missing from the power steering pump as well. Looks like she's been in a collision. The old cow sport's got a pretty good whammo there. Looks pretty straight on the driver's side though. Check those horns out. You got dual factory horns plus an aftermarket horn. Yep, definitely vacuum canisters to open the headlight covers. Got them cute little adjustable bump stops. You can adjust how far they come open. All right, let's check this dipstick, Jimmy.
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy!
Well, it's over full, which means there's probably water in it, but it does look like brand new. So that might be a plus. Speaking of removing battery cables, somebody definitely stole the starter solenoid. Ford things. I think it used to be right there. Look at this bad boy. She's the day starter. It ain't gonna start at night, but it'll start in the day for you. Hopefully it hasn't rusted through the inner fender yet. Let's take a quick look inside the cabin, see if we can find some keys and get the trunk open, see what's in there, see if that gives us any signs as to why they parked it. As is usually the case, the seller said, ran when parked. Of course it did. Hey, we got a title with this one though. Hopefully it's not stolen. Speaking of stolen, we're giving the old whistle pig away. It's not stolen anymore, but for every $1 you spend at mortske.com, we got flannel shirts, we got ball caps, we got everything there. For every $1 you spend on merchandise at mortske.com, you get a chance at winning the old whistle pig and $3,000 cash. And not only that, we're gonna give 5 runner-ups. We each get $100 a piece. So for every $1 you spend at mortske.com, gets you a chance at winning this thing. The more you spend, the more chances you got. We got all kinds of stuff. We got Mojo Craft banners. We got Crown banners. We got Low Life banners. We got bobbleheads. We got magnetic screwdrivers. We got magnetic can koozies. We got t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and crew necks. You name it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. Plus we got decals. So head on over to mortske.com. Check that out now through February 17th. Get in there, get a chance to win that thing because that thing is real good and we're making it better all the time. All right, now back to our Cougar. We interrupt your regular scheduled shenanigans to bring you another Mortske Minute. This one's based on the Cougar. The Cougar was built from 1967 through 2002 by the Mercury Automobile Corporation. No car was created in 1998, however. Between 1967 and 2002, Mercury created almost 3 million Cougars. So the Mercury development actually began in 1962 with the code name T5, which would later become the Mustang. The T5 project evolved into the T7 project, which coincided with a Mustang update in 1967. The Cougar was released September 30th, 1966. 40% of all sales in the Lincoln and Mercury division was due to the Cougar alone, and 150,000 of them were sold in 1967. Initially, it was only offered as a coupe, which was $284 more than a Mustang. The base model came in at $2,854 or $26,801 in 2023 monies. You could opt up for the loaded XR7, which was roughly $4,500 or $42,000 in 2023 monies, which was roughly the same price as a T-Bird at that time. In 1967, it was also Motor Trend's Car of the Year.
Most masculine road animal yet.
Cougar, if you're man enough.
So some of the trim packages and options that Mercury offered for the Cougar in 1967 and 68, they offered the Dan Gurney Special. This included a Dan Gurney signature decal, turbine wheels, and a chrome engine dress-up kit. They also offered the XR7-G, G standing for Gurney, in 1968 only. This was a Shelby automotive project and included hood scoop, hood pins, fog lights, chrome exhaust tips, special badging, wheels, and a unique interior trim. Only 619 of these were built in 1968. The GT option was also available, which was a sportier version. It came standard with the 390 Marauder engine. Upgrades included steering, suspension, wheels, and brakes, and lower restriction exhaust. In 1969, the Eliminator option replaced the GT option, and it was only available in the hardtops and not in XR7 trim cars. The 111-inch wheelbase was 3 inches longer than the Mustang counterpart, and both were based on the Ford Falcon chassis. Some of the engine options were the 289 two-barrel coming in at 200 horsepower, or you could increase to the 4-barrel at 225 horsepower. 390s came in at 320 horsepower. In 1968, the 289 was replaced with a 302 coming in at 210 horsepower for a 2-barrel or 230 horsepower for a 4-barrel. XR7 equipped units came standard with the 4-barrel. The Marauder 390P 390 2-barrel was 280 horsepower. The GTE 427 came in at 390 horsepower. In mid-year 1968, the 428 Cobra Ramjet came in at 335 horsepower. In 1969, the 351 Windsor was standard and replaced the 302, coming in at 250 horsepower for a 2-barrel and 290 horsepower for a 4-barrel. The 390 was still available at 320 horsepower, and you could also get it with a dual 4-barrel option. The Boss engine became available mid-year 1969 with Eliminator packages, and the 4-barrel came in at 290 horsepower. Some other interesting facts was that the Mercury Cougar was the first Lincoln Mercury available with hideaway headlights. They also had the split electric shaver grille on 1967 and 1968 models. Sequential turn signals were standard, which I thought they were the first used by Ford Motor Company, but they were actually stolen from the T-Bird. The XR7 option was a $185 upgrade, which included a simulated wood trim, full instrumentation, overhead console, T-handle automatic shifter, but power windows were not available with an XR7. Other options included the tilt-away, swing-away steering wheel. 1968 saw the electric sunroof option, which was a first for Ford. It was developed by Bosch and installed by the American Sunroof Corporation in Southgate, Michigan. 1969 saw a complete redesign for the Cougars, and a convertible option was added. Obviously, there was a lot more information about Cougars, but I chose to stick with the first and second generation options. The third and fourth generations used an intermediate chassis. Fifth and sixth generations used the Fox body chassis. Like I said, there wasn't any built in 1998. 1999, the eighth and final generation was a front-wheel drive, which was originally slated to be the Ford Pro, but was dropped and Mercury picked it up. So there you have it, all the information you never wanted to know about the Mercury Cougar. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. This thing has got quite the identity crisis. Check out the old Camaro seat covers. Is that a little pocket on the side for your Marb Reds? Oh yeah. Got the giant Cougar horn cap, wrapped steering wheel. Ugh. I've had this thing sitting with the door open all summer and winter to try to get the smell out, and it's not working. Maybe we'll just look at it at a distance. Not having much luck with the driver's door here. I think that's why the window is down. couldn't get the door open. I think this thing sat in the trees way too long and rusted out the door latch. Now that doesn't want to unlatch. We gotta get this door open so we don't have to be like the Duke boys. We're classy folks. We're Mercury Cougar guys, not peasant Dodge Charger guys. Oh, I don't even know if I want to get in there. The smell is something else. I got my gloves on, so I'll do a little digging for you. I think this is some floor pan that was left on my car trailer when we unloaded it. Oh, look at that. Tell you what, somebody who orders a ball cap this week, dates listed below, is gonna get a Lee, Alexandria, Minnesota, Buick Olds Pontiac GMC truck cap with their cap. Don't worry, we'll isolate this one so it doesn't make your new Mortske cap stink, but check that out. Is that like a 87 Olds Cutlass Sierra? Or maybe it's a Buick Regal. I don't know. Pinnacle of styling in the 80s there. This hat was probably brand new in 1986 when they parked this thing. Okay. That was the headliner. Or maybe not. That's not a dome light. That's a marker light. I lied. But that still probably was the headliner. That's what the doors are covered in, this fur. And the chains were for doing unspeakable things also, no doubt. I'm gonna dispose of that. Does it have keys? Yes. However, they are GM keys. Did somebody put a GM ignition tumbler in this thing? Nope, the Ford turns it. All right, what are we digging for? Oh, come on, baby. All right, seat's not tipping ahead. He did send some gauges with, some XR7 gauges, because he parted out an XR7, or one of his cars is an XR7. I think that's what this is from. This is the radio bezel slash time clock. Time clock, it's a clock. It's not a tack. That's all you need to know. Cigarette lighter, another marker light. This would have been from a 68 or 9, because 67s didn't have marker lights on basically any model that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's some weird AMC or Opar, but better demanded in 68 marker lights. That's why the Camaros and the Chevy pickups, Cougars got them in 68. Looks like we got an automatic Ford floor shifter, probably from said XR7. Looks like some Ford wiring. Ford like to use these little bullet rubber insulated connectors. Nothing wrong with them, just, yeah, we see them on Fords. More chains. That might be a keeper. With an anchor, what a deal. Guess we're gonna have to get everything through the other door. More marker lights. Backup lights. That is not a factory Cougar light, I know that. Let's throw that away. That's off of trailers. Oh, you know this door's gonna open and you wanna check the inside out, don't you? Whew, check them door panels out. Even Duff is scared. Oh, what do we got up here? The electronic musical car horn. We might have to see if we can make that work. Manufactured by Horn Aplenty and Calfax. Oh my goodness. Tech kids did the best things to their cars, also known as the worst things. It's got a life-saving kit though. Could have used that the other day when I tried chopping my finger off. Ow! Garfield! Air freshener. We got air fresheners at mortske.com. We're gonna autograph this and throw this in with somebody's air freshener purchase as well. Don't worry, we'll double bag it so that Duff's friend Garfield doesn't stink. I thought he liked to eat lasagna. Do we want to know what's in the life-saving kit? Please don't be anything weird. Like a brick of cocaine. Be a brick of cash. Oh, just your standard run-of-the-mill sting kill swabs, triangular bandages, merthiolate swab, miscellaneous burn spray, and an air horn. Is that for help? Oh, it's the Sound 911. Did they have 911 in 1986? I feel like not. The old Tecker was a lifesaver. What else we got? Here's our adapter for said horn. God, I hope that thing works. There's the rest of that ashtray. See, this has got the radio surround up there. The radio must have been in the console on the old XR7. Oh, more air freshener giveaways! The Playboy Bunny! Yeah! We'll sign that and throw that in with the air fresheners as well. Look at that carpet. Whew. Remember your grandma having some of that in her house? Some of you guys probably remember having it in your own house. The old number 15 ball shifter. Custom made by a techer, no doubt. Looks like it's probably a factory shifter, not a sweet old Hurst or anything. Dang it. There's that aforementioned temperature gauge. We got an oil pressure gauge. Probably because those gauges didn't work. And there's that third pedal we were hoping to find. Speaking of radios, looks like there's our factory. Oh, it is an FM. And it's not factory. Sears, Roebuck and Company. Simpson Sears, Limited, Canada. Is something a cassette deck? No. But we got a cassette one. Oh, Styx! Paradise Theater. 1980 A&M Records. Oh yeah, there we go. I don't know any of these songs. Too Much Time on My Hands. That's a classic. All right, we're throwing that in a giveaway with air fresheners as well because we don't have cassettes. Take that back. Chin says we're running low on the air fresheners, so get them while you can at mortske.com. But notebooks. We just got these sweet freaking notebooks. I think I got one here somewhere. Anyway, I already lost the pen to it, but we got these sweet Mortske notebooks. Go check these out at mortske.com. And for a couple lucky individuals who buy notebooks, you're gonna get the cassette of the old Styx. You're gonna get Garfield and Hugh Hefner here. The ball cap is still staying with ball cap purchases, but get these notebooks. They're great for writing down girls' numbers when they give you the wrong one, and keeping notes on your car when you changed oil on it, and what parts you added and what parts you need to add, and all that good stuff, or whatever their ideas you have that come to your brain. Or don't doodle pictures in there like the people in Oklahoma do. Whoa! So what I'm saying is, if you order an air freshener, don't expect to get a crappy air freshener or a Styx cassette. You gotta buy the notebook. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. What's in here? A whole lot of mouse house, no doubt. Is it locked? No. Now we gotta know. All the other stuff, there's gotta be something great in there. There's his loofah for scrubbing his man parts. There's more of that blue, red, and white paint. Oh, I'm dying to know. Here we go. Here. Oh, yeah, just what I thought. Whole lot of grossness. Of course, a comb. Rico Suave had to slick up his mullet when he was cruising Alexandria. Was that pinstripes? Gia, 1/8 by 35 foot. Yeah, white pinstripes. Some fuses, switch, because he was an electrician based on the horn. All right, how do we get into this back seat? Like so. Looks like we got automatic brake pedal, some wiring harness, spare mirror. Oh, overhead console? Look at all them fancy lights. Is that a factory Cougar deal?
Yes, 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 yes.
No overhead console in here. That dome light does not look factory. That headliner is definitely not factory either. If this car could talk, it would scream. Mirror? Pretty decent shape, actually. Well, just kidding, not really. It seems like mirrors are like the new truck tailgates. They're all junk. You can't find a good one anywhere unless you buy reproduction, and they're still sometimes junk. Well, there's the air cleaner. Oh, look at that. Freaking Cal Custom with the T-bucket on it. Just a little baby 10-inch open element. There's them XR7 gauges. Looks like the XR7 had 85,000 miles on it. Had a 120 speedometer, but there's the big ticket item, the old tachometer. Good thing the harness is in there, because my buddy Tony, Torino Tony, says that in order to swap them gauges, you gotta have the harness. He says they'll plug in, but bad things happen and you'll either ruin the gauges or burn the car and your shop down. And we're already gonna lose the shop anyway for me banging up my finger and giving away the whistle pig, but we don't want to melt the shop down. Good news is we got the harness, so if we want to put the XR7 gauges in, we certainly can. And there's more of the XR7 dash. You can tell it's an XR7 by the way that it is. Look at all them fancy switches. Left map, right map, panel, courtesy, oil pressure gauge, wood grain. Oh yeah. Back seat isn't too terrible. We'll just call it that. Ugh, kitty hair rear speaker deck. Oh, he did all the door panels. This thing was either so cool or so rapey. I don't know. Is rapey a word? That's what comes to mind when I think of all these door panels. You know, Camaro seat covers, they really church it up though. Ooh, those are fancy. I wonder if they're XR7. Oh, that's right, this thing should have low back buckets, I believe. Tony says these are not the right seats. He says they're out of like a 69 or 70 or something. A little duct tape action going on in the heater box. Don't worry about that. Well, since we got some keys, let's check the trunk. Oh, if we pull hard enough. Was I just talking about how nice the trunk was? If we pull hard enough, we'll get the trunk to come apart in 2 pieces. Come on, baby, there's probably something really amazing and not valuable in there. A lot of rust coming out of that seam. There we go. Just had to get the old CTs out and really twist on that key. What's the worst case scenario? It snaps off. We already know we don't want to get back in the glove box. And the driver's door is unlocked, so nothing to lose. Speaking of losers, we got a Delco battery, Duff. Another old school one. There's a factory 2-barrel intake. Looks like we got some factory valve covers, some factory cast iron manifolds. Thank goodness it doesn't have headers, Duff. These look like parts off the XR7, some heater controls, beauty rings, giant galvanized funnel. Ooh, what's this? The shifter cover? Sure enough, there it is, their shift indicator for the 3-speed automatic. It's a Ford. You can tell by the way it is. Another shifter? Flex plate. Hey, there's our Cougar mud flap and part of the quarter panel. Hey, there's a power steering pump. Does it have the dipstick that we need though? Of course not. Oh my, I can see the floor. That's not good. What's that? Oh, is that the fuel filler? The fuel tank is the trunk floor on these Mustangs and Cougars. Extra throttle pedal linkage. I'm guessing all them boxes over there is what runs the sequential taillights, because that looks like a lot of wiring and it's attached to the car permanently. Yeah, got a little excessive lip rust going on in the old trunk lid. We're definitely gonna want to clean the trunk lid out before we go whip donuts, because otherwise it's gonna clean itself out in my yard and make a mess, because I don't think there's much trunk floor there. Let's get this thing up in the air, take a look at the bottom, see if we can't get at the old flywheel and turn this thing over by hand. Well, how do you think this is gonna go, pal? Like I said before, well aware how rusty this thing is underneath. There's an exhaust pipe that's been hanging. You can see it when you drive by on the road on this thing for quite some time, and can't imagine that that's just gonna go up with the car, so we might have to get the old Sawzall out. Good thing we got the exhaust machine, so we'll be putting some true duals on it if we get her to run. No. We probably won't, but we could. We do have the capability. All right, let's dig into this Cougar's undercarriage, see if she's ready to settle down, if you know what I mean. Oh boy. So like I said before, these are a unibody car, and that's the frame rail, which is sheet metal basically. And you don't want to see rust there. That's definitely not rust there. So yeah, good times. Good times. We had to do a little brake work to get her to roll, so never mind that the brake pins are just kind of hanging out there. Oh, they didn't have power steering sectors. They got the old hydraulic ram assist. What a deal. Looks like when we drug her out, we kind of hooked down the control arm, or somebody did. I'm guessing that's me. And the control arm is now needing replacement by tubular control arm. So we're just gonna make it better. Look at that cute little baby anti-sway bar. It's a whole 3/4 inch diameter. Oh boy, that's the old shock tower area. Oh, this thing's looking like a pedal donor car more all the time. The old Ford canister style fuel filter. Those things are good. Oil pan is not rusted out, which obviously if it was, there would have been fluid on the dipstick. Yeah, she's super rotten. I probably should have walked away from this one. Good news is the carpet's in good shape. Oh yeah, that's the subframe. It's supposed to come back to here, I think. Fuel line's rusted out. It's got plenty of hose clamps though. Where my hose at? Oh, good thing we found a good spot to lift on. It was definitely not jumping Coke cans. It only had single exhaust, but it did have a chrome tip on it. To think I stared at that all fall when I could have just crawled underneath and ripped it off. Yeah, see, that's what the frame's supposed to look like. Not so good. Absolutely terrible. We could probably patch that and make that work. We're gonna need to buy some parts. Anyway, I think we got duped. I think it's a 3-speed. I only see 2 levers. A 4-speed should have 3 levers. Dang it! Our worst purchase yet. Usually there should be 2 levers up here, first, second, third, fourth, and then 1 back here for reverse. This guy didn't even know his own car was a 3-speed, not a 4-speed. But at least it's the indestructible Ford top loader. Yay. Aluminum bell housing though, that's pretty neat. Floors, yep, they're there. They're fine. How about the drive shaft, is that good? A lot of play in the old 8-inch back here. You can tell it's an 8-inch because you can get at the bottom bolts with a socket. 9 inches, you cannot. Sure enough, there's our air shocks to go along with our traction. Oh, these bad boys were chrome back in the day. What a deal. Again, unibody, so that's your frame, but you also need it to be tied to something that's got some structure, so great. Hopefully the inner rockers are real good structure because that's about all that's left. And the reason they're left is because I think Ford used galvanized steel. We're never gonna recover from this poor financial decision.
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
It's just rotten everywhere. For some reason, the driver's side is worse. Yep, that's the frame rail. Even the leaf springs are about rusted out. Be a posi. And not a posi. Oh, we do have a tag. Let's clean it up, see what we got. Probably some silly 300s or 279s. I'm surprised the tag is even still on it. Be something respectable, like a 355 or even a 325. Nope, 300s. Of course. Well, let's carry on with the disappointment further back. Oh, hey, look. Another ashtray just hanging out in the quarter panel. Also, frame rail, where your springs mount. Not what you want to see. There's that fuel tank I was talking about. That's even rotted out. Good news is, I think they're the same as a Mustang and they're dirt cheap. Oh, and somebody's patched her before. That's the DD Speed Shop was here welding it up with his silicone weld. Just so we're 100%. This is like race car stuff. That's what they do. Wow, that frame rail's gone. I was like pushing on this with the skid steer. It's funny that didn't just completely blow out. I may have cut this brake drum to get her to turn. As you can tell, the wheel's turning, the brake drum's not. Who'd have thought? The brakes are all rusty too. Yep, definitely did the rear brake delete on both sides. We don't need rear brakes. We don't need rear brakes at all. All right, getting this thing to turn over. Of course, it's a Ford, so there's really no access down here to turn over. So let's just throw a battery in it, see what happens. Super rusty, been sitting 39 years. It'll probably just crank right over. We do need to round up a solenoid though, because that's MIA. I suppose we could take the old daylighter out. Oh, reminds me of Daylight Donuts down in Tecumseh, Oklahoma. Get some of that goodness. Cajun pies. Well, our battery tray isn't completely gone, but it's real close. Well, the tray is soon to be gone, but the inner structure is still kind of hanging out. Wonder what kind of tree these little round acorn-looking ball things came from. Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, rusty cars, and some strange acorns. Or are they tree nuts? Big Daddy Bear is our battery sponsor this week. You too can be a battery sponsor at mortske.com. And also, it gets you entered to win the old whistle pig by being a battery sponsor as well. So, double whammy. You get a shout out, and you might just win a whistle pig. So, go check that out at mortske.com. Of course, it's only now through February 17th, 2025. So if you're watching this video in 2028, we probably lost the shop by then. The old DT78 might be a little bit big for the application, but she's gonna work. All right, I think we're just gonna throw this short little positive battery cable away that goes from the battery to the starter solenoid, get a nice new one, and we're gonna do the same for the ground, but we're gonna use the old one that goes from the starter up to the solenoid because I'm lazy. We can use our fancy new rusty old wrench. Let's get ahead of ourselves. What are the odds this thing turns over? I'm thinking, as rusty as the rest of the car is, not very good. 18%. Final answer. Where should we attach our ground? I feel like we pressure washed this car when we brought it home 5 months ago. We probably should have pressure washed underneath the hood. Because the engine is dusty, dirty, tree nut infested mess. Got this nice little spot on the intake for a 3/8 bolt. Easy to get my battery cable back when this thing doesn't run. Optimism at its finest around here. All right, now we just gotta get our battery cables hooked up, get our loser switch, and prepare for disappointment. I'm already fully prepared for that. I need my own crew of people who go and inspect these cars for me and make sure they're good before we go get them. Can you imagine that there's channels that actually do that? They probably don't let them drag absolute garbage home either. All right, loser switch time. I always clip on the wrong side of these solenoids. One day, I'm gonna get it mastered, which side's the I and which side's the S. It's the one closest to the battery cable. Then again, it depends on which way you install the battery. This whole loser switch has seen better days. She's in pretty rough shape. All right, here we go. Come on. Surprise me, little Windsor. Nope, that's not a surprise. Not even a click? That's tight. That's not tight. Nothing? Oh yeah, you gotta hook that back up. Our solenoid is securely in place and grounded through our super rusty inner fender, so now let's give her a whirl. Here goes nothing. And that's what we're gonna get. Nothing. Son of a biscuit. So you could get these cars with either the small block, the Windsor, the 289, but you could also get them with a big block, a 390. I think you could also get them with a 428. It's tight in here with the old small block. I can't imagine what a 390 would be like in here. That is a large engine compared to these bad boys. But anyway, that being said, I'm gonna struggle taking spark plugs out of this thing, and we're gonna put some coil down there, and then we'll let it sit and see what happens. So we got all the spark plugs out, and they all look like this. They're a little bit carboned up, like there was getting a little bit too much fuel. She's running a little fat, a little rich, and there is some rust on there. So some humidification got in there. We'll throw a little coil in there, and we'll lift this thing up and see if we can't get her turning over from the bottom side, or at least see if we can't get the starter to turn over, because we love working on starters. This Ford diesel exhaust fluid identifies as slightly used ATF. You can't get at these spark plugs to even take them out, much less to get some coil in there. So we got the old Mighty Vac, old Watch West Work, told me about these things. I'll try to remember to put a link in the video description so you can get one of these. These things are great for filling up manual transmissions and differentials and all kinds of hard to reach things, like those little quart jars you get 80-90 in. They suck compared to this thing. It's so good, but it's pretty good for getting ATF and cylinders of a small block Ford wedged into a 1967 Cougar, though. Your tech tip of the day. I need a bigger jug for my diesel exhaust fluid. There we go. She should be all topped off. Let's see if we can get the starter off of this thing. That way we can get in there and hopefully pry on the teeth on the flywheel. The second reason that I want to take the starter off is not that I love working on starters, but we can bench test it. And that way we know it's not any electrical connections and it's not the starter itself. So let's get after it. I think it's just 2 bolts holding these Fords on. So we got that going for us. The bad news is it's steel bolts going into an aluminum bell housing. So hopefully we don't pull the threads out. That would not be good. It's a through hole. We'll just drill it out and put a nut on the backside if we got to. That'd be some real pole barn garage type stuff there. Just kidding. Good guy. Well, why doesn't that come out of there? Oh, there we go. just seized in that aluminum bell housing. Ah, corrosion of dissimilar materials. Pretty typical, mouse house in the bell housing. I don't know how they get into some of these things, but they got in there. Let's put a bar on the teeth and see if it'll turn over. I suppose they came in through that rubber boot for the clutch fork that's getting kind of deteriorated. Or maybe there's an inspection cover on the top. We may never know. All right, let's get a bar, see what happens. Come on, baby, just spin right over. Yeah, right. Not happy. Ugh. Freaking mice. Oh. Gonna be a real short video here pretty quick. Things don't start going our way. Oh my goodness. I love my job. I really do. It's worse things to be doing on a Sunday afternoon. Why couldn't they put an inspection cover on the bottom like GM does? So you just put the old Hefe on there, good to go. It's got a C5 AE block. Does that mean it was cast in 1965? Or did they use that casting for many years? All right, I'm gonna go grab a different bar. How about the hook bar? Support your local hookers. Get that decal at mortske.com as well. Oh, that's a good bite too. Cheese and rice. We should have bore scoped them cylinders. That's gonna be real tough now that they're all full of ATF. I mean diesel exhaust fluid. Oh, not looking good for the home team. Just for S's and G's, let's see how much water is in the oil system. Or how much oil is in the water system. Well, it looks like oil. It's very thin oil. Oh, that looks like oil. Doesn't look like water. Looks pretty new as well. Well, that's a good sign. We needed that win. You gotta get a little win every now and again. Did we ever make an adapter to bolt to the harmonic balancer on a Ford? Guess we could make one of them. And then snap off the keyway on the crankshaft. Oh yeah! Oh no. That radiator is for an automatic transmission car. You can tell by the way it's got fittings for the transmission cooler. Also looks like our radiator has decided to start leaking. But good news is, it's got green coolant in it, so we'll take it. Well, let's pull the pulleys out the crankshaft and see what we can figure out. So I got all the bolts out. Remember how I was talking about frame rails? I completely ignored the one on the passenger side. She's just... Maybe that's why the bumper's loose, because... Oh yeah, that is why the bumper's loose. That's not even the frame. That's the bumper bracket. The frame is gone. Oh, terrible financial decisions were made. I always thought these front ends on these Fords were interesting, how they put the coil spring and the shock on top of the upper control arm. Why they didn't just put it between the upper and lower control arms like everybody else did, I don't know. All right, let's get that pulley off there. Are there more bolts? Took 3 out. I guess we're gonna get Bob Jr. out and see what happens. Be strong, little anti-sway bar. Cheese and rice! Gonna take the bolt out of the middle? Probably. Be really cool if the engine decided to turn over while taking this bolt loose. Oh hey, I still had a bar wedged in the teeth of the ring gear. Now will the pulley come off. What the French toast? Bolts are all out. All of them. 3 around the perimeter and 1 big fine threaded sucker in the middle. What's your problem? So you know they've been sitting a long time when the V-belts have grown into the pulleys. Anybody can get aluminum and steel to bond, but when you get rubber and steel to bond, that's when you're a real professional. Yeah, that belt, she's cooked. Good news is the alternator and the water pump both turn though, so that wasn't what was holding us up. Yay! Stay up there. C5AE, part number on the harmonic balancer, so maybe it is a 65 engine. All right, let's see if we can find an adapter to put on there and really reef on it. Shear off the old keyway. Let's get this belt out of our way. One less thing in my way. Oh, she's got at least 3 oil changes left in it, Duff. Man, you got it rough. We got the MIT2 tool. I think MIT was the Make It Turn tool. MITT. That's for Pontiacs. That is pretty crude. Must have been for that 70 Pontiac we got running back in the day. All right, we got the mitt on here. What are we calling this thing? The Move It or Lose It tool. The Make It Turn tool. That's what we're calling it. There we go. The mitt tool, the Make It Turn tool. MITT, we got her installed. We got the 3/8 coarse thread bolts holding her in place. Let's rip on this thing. Sometimes you just gotta make the custom tool to get the job done. Nothing but the finest. All right, let's get the big old 1/2-inch breaker bar out and see if we can't shear a keyway off of a crankshaft. We got our 36-inch breaker bar here, made by PT. We've only broken about 4 of these things, so Godspeed. Here goes nothing. Oh, my word. I guess we're gonna try to go counterclockwise. Cheese and rice. She's a little sticky, boys and girls. Just to show you we ain't playing around, we'll give you some footage that ain't up close. You know, I could just put a little cheater bar on there and pretend, oh, my engine's stuck. I'm gonna put 234 pounds on the end of this thing. Well, not all of it, but you get the point. Plus we got 3 feet of leverage. Here we go. Oh, where's that guy going? Nowhere.
He's going nowhere. Where you going? Nowhere.
I can't imagine the inside of the engine is as rusty as the rest of the car. Frickin' hey. And this is why this car has just been sitting outside, because I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that this is how this was going to go. But not really, because I actually ordered new brake parts for this car. I got new wheel cylinders and drums and shoes, hoses and all that stuff, so maybe I'll find another Cougar or Mustang we can put them on someday. That was a waste of money, it looks like. Oh! I'm gonna take a break and think about our plan of attack. The only thing I can think of right now is kick it outside or pull cylinder heads off. I can tell you which one would make me feel better, and it doesn't involve pulling cylinder heads off. All right, we let the ATF sink in for a couple hours. Let's reef on it and try not to knock our teeth out with this bar. 1 week ago today that I got 4 stitches in my finger. Let's not go there for a concussion and knocked out teeth. You know, guys so strong as me shouldn't be doing this. I might just tip this car over and rotate it and drop it right out to the left. Okay, probably not. Cheater pipe time. Hopefully 6 feet does it. Oh, we're definitely gonna break this breaker bar. Is that what they call them, breaker bars? Because they break? Because that's what they do for me. Oh, I can hear the engine mounts creaking. The rubber in them is given because that's how much torque we're putting on it. Why? What else can we do to make this thing turn over? I mean, the answer is to soak it. You know, that's what everybody on the internet says. Just soak it in ATF and acetone and it'll wheel right over. Right. Oh my word. I didn't break. The breaker bar didn't break. My case IH socket still isn't broke. The mitt didn't break. Let's put a mark on that thing to see if it's turning. Maybe it just broke free and it's gonna spin freely. What? Oh, I bet it's the keyway. Ah! Sure enough. Let's double check. I think the harmonic balancer is turning, but the crank is not. Yep, the flywheel is not turning. It nudges ever so slightly. So the debacle is we sheared off the keyway on the harmonic balancer, so the crank is still stuck. The engine is still stuck. The flywheel is not moving. You got any ideas? Should we have a sandwich? Think about it. Good call. All right, so I went inside, had a bite to eat, checked up on the Eagles. They won. They're going to the NFC Championship. So I guess if they win one more, we're going to lose the shop for sure because I'm going to have to buy another Super Bowl ticket. So if you're not aware, my cousin Dallas Goddard is the tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm a terrible fan, and I never really pay attention until it comes to the playoffs. And last time they went to the Super Bowl, I had to go there. So I guess if they make it there again, we'll go there. So go Eagles. By the time this video comes out, it will be, yeah, the championship will be determined, the NFC Championship.
Fly Eagles fly to Super Bowl 59.
So anyway, hopefully they're the NFC champions. But anyway, since he did so well today and he worked hard to get there.
Probably what he wants, but it doesn't show when he's showing up today.
Hurts, Dugan is a man, Goddard, open, catch it, he's down near the 10.
I'm gonna have to work hard at this deal. And I decided we're just gonna start ripping into this thing. So I'm gonna rip the hood off and let's pull the intake off. I already cut the exhaust off to get that out of the way. Let's pull some cylinder heads off and see what we got going on inside the old 302. I don't have a lot of parts around for this thing, so hopefully we can salvage everything that's there. Hopefully it looks great inside. I mean, it's not good. There's something hanging it up. Let's figure out what's hanging it up. That's what we're gonna do. And by we, I mean me, because somebody's just gonna nap. We interrupt your regular scheduled shenanigans to bring you a Mortske Minute. This Mortske Minute is on the Mercury line of vehicles from the Ford Motor Company. Mercury was originally released in 1939 to split the lineup between Lincoln, the high-end Ford cars, and Ford, the base model cars. As stated earlier, they were released in 1939 and were produced all the way through 2011 before they were dropped. This was the brainchild of Edsel Ford in 1938 and was named after the Roman god Mercury. Coincidentally, only 4 years earlier, Chevrolet also had their own Mercury, and there were 7 other manufacturers that failed between 1903 and 1923 that used the name Mercury. E.T. Bob Gregory penned the design for the 1939 models. In 1939, they offered 4 models: the 2-door sedan, the 4-door sedan, the coupe, and the convertible. Originally, the Mercury 8 only offered V8 engines as the option and shared much of its body shell design with the Ford counterparts, except they had a 4-inch longer wheelbase. At the inception, all Mercurys were assembled at the River Rouge plant until 1952. At that time, they went to the Wayne Stamping and Assembly Corporation. Interestingly enough, in 1942, Mercury offered the Liquimatic, Ford's first semi-automatic transmission. They were redesigned in 1949 after the war and used Lincoln body shell components. 1950 was the first use of the Monterey trim line, and also in 1950, Mercury produced its 1 millionth automobile. 1952 saw the Mercumatic automatic transmission. By 1949, Mercury was the 6th highest selling automobile manufacturer in the United States. Later on in 1960, Mercury released the Comet, which was the first Mercury compact car, which was a longer version of the Ford Falcon, but with 4 headlights. In 1961, the full-size Mercurys used the same chassis as the Ford Galaxies. Also in 1961 was the first use of 6-cylinder engines in full-size Mercurys. 1967 came and Mercury debuted two of the longest running models, the Mercury Cougar and the Grand Marquis. The Cougar was designed to bridge the gap between the Mustangs and the Ford T-Birds, and the Marquis was designed to compete with the Buick Electras, Oldsmobile 98s, and New Yorkers. While the Cougar was initially only offered in two-door hardtop options, which later included convertibles, the Grand Marquis was available in two-door and four-door hardtops. 1968, Mercury released the Montego, which was based on the Torino, and they also released a performance-based Cyclone. The Cyclone Spoiler 2 was used for the 1969 NASCAR season. And we could go on all the way through 2011 when Mercury's dropped, but we'll hit a couple more high points. One of my favorite components of the Mercury was the breezeway window option. So from 1963 to 1966, they had a reverse inverted window available on full-size cars with a roll-down rear window, and they were the only automobile manufacturer to offer this option. But wait, there's more. Did you know that Mercury offered trucks? Yeah, that's right. Ford offered the F-Series, Mercury offered the M-Series, only available in Canada from 1946 through 1968. You could get medium duties, cab overs, and even a van option. The COEs were available through 1972, and they wouldn't dive into vans again until 1993 with the Villager. So there you go. All the information you ever wanted to know about Mercury. Now back to your regular scheduled shenanigans. Off to a great start. One of the bolts on each side holding the hood to the hood springs is spinning the nuts are inside of the hood, so I guess we're gonna be cutting heads off those bolts. We're gonna be putting hood pins in this thing before you know it, so stay tuned. Wall fire. Maybe I should just let this thing burn. Are acorns flammable? Maybe that's why California's burning, because nobody's eating their acorns there. That's what the government, California needs more squirrels. Oh yeah. So much more room for activity now.
Look at all this floor space.
So
We do aerobics in here.
so many activities.
All right, well, I don't know much about Windsor Fords, but we're gonna start taking one apart.
You're gonna learn today.
Ah, she don't look too bad in the old valley pan. Looks like somebody got a little crazy with the high temp silicone. This is junk. It's like running down like ooze. What the heck is this stuff? A lot of carbon going on in there. But I think we can make that run. Does anybody know why Ford distributors seize into the blocks so terribly hard? I mean, I get it, Ford guys. Your argument is, yeah, it's right there. You can work on it. Great. I think I've maybe had one Chevrolet distributor seized in place, and this is probably the 15th or 20th Ford that's been seized in place. Sometimes you can heat and tap and air hammer. Sometimes you just got to snap the housing and chisel it all out of there and put a new one in. So tell me, why do they seize in place? Is it the dissimilar materials? Is it the lack of an O-ring? Is it the size, the diameter, the interference fit? What is it? Why is there a valley that water sits in and causes them to seize? But Ford distributors never want to rotate. You can never time them without going through excessive ways of loosening it up. And if you do know a good way to loosen them up, comment down below. Is there some special wrench or procedure or what? All right, let's get some valve covers off and get some heads off. Well, it's definitely not the cleanest valve train I've ever seen. It's not terrible in there. There's significantly more rust and debris on the passenger side than there's the driver's side. So I guess we'll blow that crap out of there and keep on digging. Here's another strange Ford thing. Check out these heater hoses. Where's the hose clamp? It's inside the car. Don't put it on the firewall where it's easy to get at. And I don't know why, but there's a 7/16 bolt here that holds the alternator on, which is fine. But it's 1.5 miles long, and it seems like they always like to seize the aluminum here and snap off. So, wish me luck. We did it! I don't know why, but they like to seize and snap off, especially in the modified engines. Again, maybe I'm just doing it wrong and I don't know the Ford tricks. The coil mounting bolt wasn't even tight, so I don't know what's going on there. I think somebody just had too long of a bolt. Yeah, definitely plenty of length on the old bolt there. Just one bolt holding the power steering pump on. Somebody must have been in here. Looks like it's time to pull some head bolts. No! You gotta pull the manifolds off to get the head bolts out? Frickin' Ford. Why couldn't they have placed that hardware so you could get it out without removing the manifold? Well, I guess we'll take those off. Anybody know how many head bolts there are on a small block Ford? I know there's 17 on a Chevrolet. I think we got it loose because we got ATF running out, spark plug hole. Here we go. Oh yeah, there's the coolant. Don't worry, we are definitely catching it and we'll dispose of it properly. Isn't it so pretty when the ATF mixes with the coolant? Look at all that gunk in cylinder number 2. Yeah, that's right. I figured out the Ford numbering system. 3, we can't really see because the ATF. 4's got some sludge in it as well. We'll clean those out before we go over to the other side. Cleaned up pretty good, but there is still a lot of pitting on top of those pistons. And I'm sure what was going on in there that we cleaned out was not helping the whole situation. Let's go to the other side. They got these metal tangs over here over the 3/8 bolts to hold them from backing out. The tool I found that works best for bending those tabs back is you're probably using the right tool from Mortske Repair. Get yours at mortske.com. And for everything you purchase at mortske.com, including this pry bar, you'll get entered to win the old whistle pick. So head on over to mortske.com before February 17th to get entered to win. Now let's get back to prying on a Mercury. Yeah, this side looks about the same. That antifreeze is so green it almost looks nuclear though. Some good stuff. The good news is Duff, or any dog I've ever been around, has zero interest in drinking antifreeze. Right, Duff? Right. But check out these valves, Duff. I figured mice had went up the exhaust and got in there and one of them would at least be stuck or rotted out. Must have just been humidity all them 39 years. Quick wire wheeling and we should be good to go as far as the cylinder heads go. Definitely gonna need some intake gaskets. Look at all the mounds of crap that fell out of the intake ports. Yucky. I think this side looks better than the other side as far as pitting goes. There probably was a little bit less debris in there as well. Yeah? You ready to shut her down for the night? Maybe we'll throw a little Croil in there and let her soak in overnight. That's the problem with soaking, is you can only soak the bottom part of the cylinder. You can't soak all the way around, which is usually where they're seized, because that's where the other stuff's at. But anyway, we'll throw some Croil in there and see what happens. We got the big crap out of there. I don't see anything too crazy. The rings are for sure going to be stuck, but maybe we can stick a new keyway in it and throw some heat at it and get her loosened up. We're going to find out, but I haven't seen anything too crazy, but there was definitely a lot of crap in there. A lot of pitting over on the other side. We'll just dingle ball and throw some new pistons and rings in it, huh, Duff? Or not. We're getting serious. We're getting all the rosebuds out today, and we're gonna get this sucker to crank over. Mojo just modified his... What is this? You like flat tires on your torch now too?
Sure.
You wanted to be like mine with flat tires.
Well, I guarantee these not to go flat. No.
We had a little mishap last week, so Mojo modified his torch cart.
Well, it's pretty nice on it.
It does.
Yeah, see?
Here you go. You can have one of them and put on one of those. And then we're gonna do some heating and beating. All right, heating's done. Now we're going with the beating. We're gonna tap around those pistons, see if we can't get them loose. Let's go underneath, put a bar on it, see if she turns now. Oh, she's going. Well, it's moving, but it's stiff, so we're gonna clean up the cylinders and maybe do another round of heating and beating. Your worthless information is generally, I think there's some Pontiacs that don't do it, but otherwise everybody goes with the furthest forward cylinder is number one. So it's either one of those two, but generally speaking, it's on that around General Motors speaking. All right, now that we got the cylinders cleaned up, let's throw some heat at them for a bit. I can still do stupid things. I'm still not in my I'm still in my 30s. So a little heat, a little Croil, a little cylinder dingle ball, chins on the front, trying not to snap off what's left of our keyway, and I'm on the ring gear. Oh my. Well, I had a mark. Is there a black mark, a vertical or a black line on that front there somewhere? Yeah, I don't know. Everything looks pretty good up here. Oh boy. get after it. That. Oh yeah, it's starting to come out. It's like, oh, we busted the harmonic balancer. No! R.I.P. harmonic balancer. She crapped her guts out. Son of a biscuit. Well, I guess we'll pop that harmonic balancer off of there and see what we can do, and I guess I'll keep trying to work on the old ring gear. While Chin struggles with the harmonic balancer, I'm gonna go bench test the starter. Of course, the threads are stripped out on the starter studs, so good times. Didn't notice it before, but the old starter cable's pretty rough. Good news is it's only got power when we're cranking it over, so hopefully it doesn't arc out on the inner fender. Speaking of inner fenders, she's definitely been in a collision. Cracked her out pretty good. It even cracked out the fender. She got hit pretty good in the right front. Since we no longer have an intake manifold, we gotta find a new home for our ground cable. What are the odds it cranks over with the starter? I say 63%. Here we go. Yeah! What's making that noise? Something sounds like a den of hungry lions. A bag of hammers. What is that? The lifters are going up and down, the pistons are all going up and down. Something is angry somewhere. Well, clearly it's a bottom end noise because we don't have a top end. Let's run her up in the air and see if we can figure out where this noise is coming from. Also, there's not any oil pumping out up here, so I don't know what that's all about. What is that thumping around back? Is it the transmission? Well, we would hear the wheels turning if it was trying to be the transmission. I suppose it could be something clattering around in the bell housing. Maybe the clutch is banging off the bell housing. I don't know. You got any ideas, Duff? Yeah, me either. Front of the crankshaft's turning, so I don't know where the noise is coming from. If I were a betting man, I'd say she's in the oil pan. You want to give me a second opinion? You let me know where you think the noise is coming from. And go. I think there's just not enough friction with the clutch. It's in the oil pan? Yeah. Yeah, I concur. Sweet! Just what I want to do, pull an oil pan off.
Probably doesn't help that the whole drivetrain's moving.
It's fine. It does help. It's moving. It's better than not moving. Well, let's pull a small block Ford oil pan off. Full overhaul on a rusty 289 Cougar. Drivetrain only, engine only. At least it had a fresh oil change before they blew it up. All right, looks like I gotta pull the starter off to fish that out of there, but the good news is, I think there's all kinds of room to sneak her by, hopefully. That steering is the only thing that might get in the way, but there's no cross member up here, so good work on the front sump stuff, Ford. Too bad they never work in other applications. Don't say anything too crazy. There was an acorn. I don't know how that got in there. Ran when parked. It probably ran all right. Let me show you what I found. I'll show you in a minute. Look at this oil pump, all shiny and new. Looks like a pretty new cork gasket. Well, like 40 years old new, but low mileage. You can see where they scraped, put the oil pump on. And you can tell it's a new oil pump because it doesn't have the debris and crap all over the oil pickup tube. Somebody tried fixing a low oil pressure issue. I think this is where our noise is coming from. That one's tight. That one's not. I think cylinder 5 is the only tight one. Loose. 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 Real loose. Loose. Wow. I don't know what to tell you there, kids. It's pretty bad when your pistons are tighter than your rod bearings. So with the rusty frame, you know, it's not worth putting a whole lot of work into, and the rear brakes are gonna need a bunch of money thrown into them because I torched the drums, which they would have been shot anyway. It's also not a 4-speed, like you said it was, so I should have checked that part. But this engine is shot. The piston's all pitted and it's been stuck, and you know, there was gonna be the stuck engine issues that we always have. It's gonna smoke, it wasn't gonna be that great anyway, but there's no point in even trying to get it to run like this because we're just gonna probably huck a rod through the block or damage the crank more than it already is. So, yeah, exciting times. This is a parts car, and it's not even a good parts car. It's like a pedal donor car now. Bell housing, a couple odds and ends. That's about all I can see. 8-inch, 4 to 8-inch donor. There's some good pieces there. The bucket seats aren't right, so maybe they're worth something to the 69 Cougar guy that it should go to. Hopefully we can come out on the XR7 parts. Price and availability in the video description. I'll throw all the XR7 parts in there. I'm not selling the XR7 parts separately unless you want all of them. If you want all of them and you're gonna come pick them up because I don't want to ship them, you can. We can do that. So anyway, I'm gonna have a sandwich. Think about what we've done here. Usually I bolt these engines all back together. I don't even know if I want to do that. I'm so sick of this thing that. Yeah, but I will probably because that way it's all in one pile and it's not on my floor, and it's makes the car more presentable, and we just let it sit out back. And when I have my auction someday, people will be like, yeah, 4-speed car, and it's all complete, and the engine was good and it ran with park, but it's got a title, so there's that. So the search continues for a 67.8 Cougar with a manual. I think I'm better off to just buy an automatic car that's done and ready to go, and then we just steal the pedals and such out of it and put in there. So, I mean, yeah, hit us up if you know of a nice bang shift Cougar replica, because that's what I wanted. Dang you, Steve Dolchek, in your bang shift Cougar. One day I will get a Cougar that runs and drives. I'm not a Mustang guy. Don't like the Mustangs, unless it's a fastback, like, yeah, 70 and older fastback, they're acceptable. But I want a Cougar, and it's got to be a manual. So I got a Cougar, and it's a manual. Manual everything. Manually push it around the yard. All right, I'm going to have a sandwich, think about my poor financial decisions and stuff. See you in a bit. I let the intrusive thoughts win. I threw the starter back in. Let's see what it looks like up close and sounds like. Live action. Bottom end's cranking over. Here goes nothing. The noise is when it gets to the bottom, and so the slack is at the top, and then it goes up, and then the slack goes from the top to the bottom. You get what I'm saying? That's the resistance from the piston rings. Surprisingly, it's not as loud. I suppose the oil pan really makes it echo. And maybe it was a bad new oil pump that caused it. You don't suppose they couldn't get the distributor out and the drive. What drives these? It's got to be the distributor, right? Maybe they went through all this work and put it in and screwed it up, and that's what took out the bearings. Who knows? Either way, the previous owner was fully aware that it had a new oil pump and some major bottom end issues. All right, we dug in a little bit further. These are original Ford bearings. I can't tell the date on them. It says 6.4, but I doubt it's a 64. It's a C2 part number, so it's a 62 part number, but they're not as bad as I expected them to be, but they're shot. A lot of grooves in there. She's worn down a ways. And that crank is completely scored up. She needs turning, that's for sure. We already knew it needed new pistons, and we might as well bore it, and now we gotta turn the crank. It's got a new oil pump, though. Somebody's gonna rebuild it. It's not gonna be me. I even took the starter off so you can see it's got the C5 AE-6015E casting number. Based on my quick research, that should be the factory engine. I thought maybe it'd be a 65 only engine, but it seems like they use that casting for a few years, kind of like the 710 block and the old small block Chevys. But anyway, I gotta get on the road. It's my birthday, so comment down below, happy birthday, or don't, I don't care. I'm gonna go on a little road trip with the old Mopar Madman. We're gonna leave this to Chin and Mojo to clean up the mess, or it'll be here when I get back. So there you have it, little Mercury muscle car action, epic disappointment, 4-speed. If you want to own this thing, hit us up, mortskerepair@gmail.com. Price and availability in the video description. We're giving the whistle pig away. Every dollar you spend at mortske.com, you get a chance at winning that thing. $3,000 cash. 5 runner-up getting $100 a piece. So go check out the merch, mortske.com. We got ball caps, we got sweatshirts, we got crew necks, we got t-shirts, we got banners, we got decals. You name it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. So thank you very much for watching. Sorry we disappointed you with this thing. I'm sorry this thing disappointed me, but you can't win them all, and that's the way it is. This isn't a fairy tale business, so it is what it is. All right, on to the next one.